Not the Chuddle.
Chuddle. Surprise.
I have a real soft spot for evil.
Blood flying everywhere.
So good.
I'm a big boy who doesn't get scared.
Out of the mist and into the fog, it's Chuddle the Pod.
Sup, Chuddle Club members. Welcome to a brand new episode of Chuddle the Pod, where horror movie lovers have a feel-good time.
Yeah, we do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do.
We are three best friends that like to bond over horror movies, and we use a movie club format to discuss them in depth.
We do.
We do our best to keep it spoiler-free in the beginning until we lose our minds and give you all the spoilers. And today, this episode, the one you're listening to right now, we are about to Chuddle The Shining.
Ooh, boy, this is a big one.
Heard of it?
This is a big deal, right?
Little
It
indie
is a
flick.
big deal. I didn't really want to do it. Hey, we're kicking off Hotel Month. Let's say hey to our co-host. We got Brian. Sup?
Hey, hey, hi. Hey, yo.
Ross, sup?
I'm not done. Hey.
Oh, hey, Sam.
Oh, Ross is talking with a little finger. He's got a little man living in his mouth.
I've got... His name is Tony.
All right. Well, this will be an interesting one, I guess. We are kicking off our hotel theme.
Mm-hmm.
We are in a new themed cycle. We haven't had one for a while. We do them every so often.
We're officially checked in.
Yes. This was a patron voted on. Brian, Ross, and myself each threw out some options. Ross picked hotel, and hotel is what won. And it was my pick, and I was like trying to think of anything other than The Shining, to be honest, just because it is such a big one. I didn't want to take it on. And it was like, we kind of can't do hotel horror without it. And I happened to buy it on 4K because it was on sale. So it just kind of worked out.
We should do Dunstan checks in for the non-horror
Dunstan checks.
Patreon exclusive.
Yeah.
That'd be great. And also, this is going to be a Stephen King doubleheader because you're doing Shining, and then we're going to be doing 4208 right after that. So,
Oh, is that a Stephen King as well?
it is.
Wait, we're doing right after what?
This
No.
Well, no, it'll
right?
be Brian next.
I'm
It'll
next.
be Hell House
Brian next.
LLC too.
after this. Don't listen.
So I
after
screw up
that.
your doubleheader. Sorry.
No.
No,
And
that
now
was
it's
also written by Stephen King.
King. No. Now it's a Stephen King sandwich. It's a Stephen King sandwich.
So is this a
There,
Stephen
that's
Hotel
it.
month?
Mhm.
It
is a Stephen Hotel month. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. And then the patron pick screws it up.
Thanks a lot,
who knows?
patrons.
We gotta look up Bug. Maybe it was written by Stephen.
I don't think it is.
There's this. Statistically, there has to be.
I'm sure there's a
Stephen
Stephen involved, but not in the way we want him
Yes.
to be. Sorry, Sam. Talk about this,
carnally.
Stephen, and what's going on.
Well, Stephen Kubrick. All right. Before we continue, I'm going to take a moment to thank our Covenant patrons because they deserve it.
They do.
They're so awesome. They treat us so well. We have so much fun talking to them in the Discord. I want to thank their sacrifice for giving us life and thanking their beautiful souls as well.
Just nailing it.
You know what else I'd like to do?
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
I'd like to shout out a brand new patron.
Oh, I love that.
Ooh.
I love it so
Yeah,
much.
we got a new witch name. Shout out to Arcane Allison, the mysterious witch of might and malison.
Ooh, that's a fun one.
That's a good one.
Thank you so much, Allison.
Now, our patrons get bonus episodes. Yeah, thank you, Allison, for real.
Yeah, what?
Shout
Thank
out.
you. You're amazing.
Yeah, what do they get? I will tell you.
What do they get?
They get non-horror movies, mailbags, creepypastas, gnarly histories, and Chuddle battles, where we pin villains from movies we've covered against each other.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with all that said, and all club members present and accounted for, the Covenant vowed, it's time to do the damn thing. Get that goo book and crack it open and begin tonight's meeting with this.
Give me that goo. Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Sergio.
Okay, what else should we do?
Let's do some lines.
Starting with, we got our goo lines. First one's our tagline from Imdip. A family heads to an isolated hotel for the winter, where a sinister presence influences the father into violence, while his psychic son sees horrifying forebodings from both the past and the future.
What?
Yeah. Okay.
Sure.
Yep. Good. Yeah, IMDb.
Overall, yeah. I mean, like, there's some
It's the gist of it. It works.
misnuance, but whatever.
Taglines, we got iconic terror from the #1 best-selling writer, which I think is very funny considering Stephen King's relationship to this movie, which
Absolutely.
we'll get into. There's plenty of that in the behind the scenes.
Do you think he walked by that poster and was just like, with that tagline, went, fuck you?
Probably.
Goddamn. He probably liked this poster. It said, coming this summer. He's probably like, all right, great. Can't wait to see it. Big fan of Kubrick.
Mm-hmm.
This is the UK poster. The tide of terror that swept America is here.
Oh, no.
Ooh.
Or probably said it with a British accent, but oh well.
Do you think they mixed that up with like Jaws and like they accidentally printed it on the poster and went, ooh. All right, just go with it. Just keep it on the poster.
Yeah, it was only a few years later, but maybe.
There's a time traveler.
A masterpiece of modern horror. Stanley Kubrick's epic nightmare of horror. I like this one. The horror is driving him crazy.
There you go. I like that one.
There we go.
Mhm.
And last one. He came as the caretaker, but this hotel had its own guardians who'd been there a long time.
Kinky. It's kinky. I like it. It's weird. I don't.
I like the horrors driving him crazy.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
It's driving me nuts.
Movies are made by people, and the people that made this movie are, well, it was directed by Stanley Kubrick.
Mm-hmm.
We know him from other movies, right? You guys seen anything else by him?
Not that I can think off the top of my head.
Okay. Well, good, very
A
useful.
lot. Very a lot.
I
He's
haven't
done
seen
lot
a
of
ton.
stuff.
Once I looked at his body of work, I was like, oh man, I've only seen a few. Clockwork Orange,
Mhm.
this,
Mhm.
couple others that I can't even recall at the moment. 2001.
Space. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm.
Eyes Wide Shut.
I haven't seen
Mhm.
it.
Haven't seen it.
How do you even do that?
You'll find out.
No, probably
Well,
not. It was written on IMDb. It says written by Stephen King, Stanley Kubrick, and Diane Johnson. So I'm guessing, that he just. I didn't pay attention to see if he got it in the movie. I'm sure he did because it's based on the book. They were really selling that. We have actors in this movie.
Do we?
We sure do. You might know some of them. We have Jack Nicholson as Jack Torrance.
Nice.
You might know that guy. Shelley Duvall as Wendy Torrance. You may have seen her before.
R.I.P.
Danny Lloyd as Danny. Might not be so familiar other than this picture, but Scatman Crothers as Dick Halloran.
Good old Alan.
Barry Nelson as Allman. Joe Turkel as Lloyd. Philip Stone as Grady. And there are some others, but that kind of covers the main ones. And our core is really the family.
Totally.
Jack Nicholson, of course, famous for just a bunch of stuff.
A lot of stuff.
Before this and after this.
Same thing with Shelley. But Shelley, my favorite was it
Not
Brian doesn't
familiar.
know.
Not familiar.
Rockin' Mother Goose, where she plays Little Bo Peep, is probably one of my favorite childhood movies of all time.
I'm not
You haven't-
familiar.
Oh my God. ZZ Top plays the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. The stray cats are actual stray cats.
Cool.
It's,
Never heard of it.
it's amazing. Bobby Brown plays a small itsy bitsy spider.
Have you shown it to your kids? Have you rediscovered
Not
it?
yet. I haven't found an actual high def quality version of it. Like, it's all of the
You
cuts that
haven't
I've seen.
found a good enough version of it for the kids to see. You're like, this is
No,
bullshit.
it's so
no,
it's so blurry. It's so blurry. Like, my children are primed on just like streaming services, so like this is it's very low quality. So
Mhm.
like they've just disengaged. We're like give me that HD.
HD, baby. Well, that's fair. I am that way too. I think I know what time it is. Do you guys know what time it is?
Fatality.
On a scale of 1 to 10, Psycho to the Sadness, how gory is this film? 1 to 5 consistency and 1 to 5 intensity for the overall gore score.
Mm.
Big Boss Ross Haas. I
Ooh.
see you stroking that beard.
This is, I don't know. This is a tough one because I feel that I think what I remember is gorier than what I actually see on screen. I feel it's like that kind of psycho effect.
Yep.
I'm going to say, man, it's relatively low. I mean, I would probably say it's probably maybe a 2 to maybe a 2.5 for intensity. There's just some but they're all quick blip scenes, I guess would be the best way of putting that, shy of the main murder that we see. And then consistency. Yeah, I was going to give it maybe a 1.5 or a 2 because it's it's in spots. And then when it revs up, it kind of revs up. I don't know. I gave it between so maybe 3.5 to a 4, maybe max.
All right.
Yeah.
I have trouble with it because of the elevator. I don't know how to rate that. I don't know.
An elevator full of elevator full of blood. I see
and you get it throughout the movie
multiple times. And I just, but to me, that's not, it's hilarious because it's an elevator full of blood, but it's not used in a gory manner, I guess. So it's
why I don't know how to rate it. It is an elevator full of blood, but it doesn't feel gory. What's going on here?
Yes. Yeah. And that's honestly, taking the elevator out of the equation. What do you feel like you would hit? What number would you be?
Let's see here. I can think of 2 other scenes that would put it at probably a 2.5 for intensity, and then for frequency it would be 1, so 3.5.
3.5.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean,
yeah.
The blood, yeah, elevator stuff, yeah, but it feels such red water that it's in the instance that it's used.
Red wine.
I don't know. I don't think it's impactful in the moment, but I don't feel like it's a gory thing. But
it's
we're a bunch of
icky
horror heads, I think.
Right.
A normal person might be like, ew, that's a lot of gross blood.
Ew, goo.
And it's something we've been I assume we've all been exposed to it for so long as well it has no impact,
That's a really good point. At what point after watching this 5,000 times, it's is our gorometer askew because we're so desensitized by this movie?
Well, I'm sure our gorometer is askew just from how much horror we watch to the regular
in general.
folk. Yeah,
That's true. It's all lies.
Yeah, it's not balanced to the normies. All right, cool.
Well, I can dig it. 3.5 to a 4. Yeah.
Who is the horror forward?
Starting with what subgenres does it fall into? Hotel.
Supernatural.
Yeah.
Supernatural.
Slasher.
Ghost.
Very
Maybe.
tricky.
It's tricky.
I would not count it as a slasher.
No, it's not.
It doesn't
I think
feel
it's
like a slasher movie.
hotel movie, haunted house movie,
Yeah.
an isolation movie.
Psychological. That's well, I guess both psycho and psychological, but psychological was what I was going for. Like thriller, character study,
Family drama.
Yeah. All of these things.
Yep.
What kind of environment best to watch it? Not raucous. I mean, that might be fun for a viewing, you know what I mean? But in general, this is the type of movie you sit down and watch, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think because of how visually stunning this movie is, it being in the background or having something isn't I'm not opposed to that, but you have to probably your first,
so
if not first few times.
How to watch it is in the background?
No. What I'm saying is if it's a party, as in it's visually stunning enough that I feel in a party situation, you'd still be stuck to the TV watching it with a bunch of friends. Sometimes when you have a lot of people, it's disengaged. Oh, first, second time, I honestly, by yourself, lights off. It's moody, it's atmospheric.
I think a big TV as you can, turn the sound up, all that stuff.
I think to party. Get it on a nice 25-inch TV, 27-incher.
Watch it on your phone.
Pull out a VHS of it. Throw that on. If you got an old tube TV, throw it. That's how I first probably watched it. That was cool. Maybe do that too.
watched it, too, for sure.
Do you know those those sunglasses they give you for the eclipse that has the tiny pinhole in it?
Put those on.
Do that. Outwater style. Watch this movie Outwater style.
The Outwater's cut.
Might not be a bad idea to watch all movies that way.
I do.
Brian does.
That's how I do it now. Ever since Outwaters, I've never seen a movie without just watching it through a pinhole. I take them off every now and then during the... But
Brian is such a voyeur, he has to watch everything through a peephole.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's like his thing.
Mm-hmm.
Is it for beginners? I think so.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I watched this when I was very young.
Absolutely. Yeah. Same.
Totally. I think it's just because it's such a cultural staple in the development of horror, specifically when it was made, that like it's a great starting point. It's very different from a lot of other horror movies, but not in a bad way. As in, like, I feel like this is a great it's an experience, and I think that beginners, it's a great foundational experience if you're getting into horror.
Yeah, I agree. Should you know anything about it going into it? I guess if you're a fan of the book, you should know that it doesn't follow it that much.
If you're a fan of the actual novel, it uses keynotes from it, but not a whole lot. Like, it's basically
they go to the hotel. The family goes to the hotel. Jack's a bad guy.
And we're going to get into it because it's like, it's weird what they tried throwing in from the book into the movie, but didn't explain any of that. Like, there's a few key scenes where I'm like, oh, that's from the book.
There's a lot left unexplained in this one.
Yes.
It's a real unexplainer.
Is that part of the, what kind of subgenre?
Kubrickian, yeah. It's unexplained.
Unexplained.
Should you know anything? There's going to be unexplained stuff in here.
Totally.
All right. Fap, fap, fap. I hear someone gently fapping outside my chamber door.
Uh-oh, it's the Mothman fapping forevermore.
Fapping in here, Chuddle Harbinger of Doom, Mothman. Does he have any trigger warnings for us?
Child death.
N-word? I don't know.
Yes, we have racial slurs. We have child death,
domestic abuse,
domestic violence. We've also got very heavy nods to alcoholism. If those are any hot buttons,
nods, it's just straight up alcoholism.
Yeah. It's So if those are your hot buttons, you might have a little spicy.
I'd say the biggest ones would probably be the domestic abuse and domestic violence.
Mm-hmm. That's what you would say. I would say
differently. I was the Mothman just whispered that to me, and I was like, nobody can hear that, so I repeated it.
Okay.
Get out of here.
Couldn't hear it.
I don't want to see you finish.
I don't want to see that.
I don't want to see that. Get that fapping out of here.
All right. Well, let's see here. Oh, we're there. We can buckle on up.
Spoiler zone.
Starting with the IMDb behind the scenes. I'm not going to lie. There is a lot up front, but there's also a lot in there. It's just...
Nuh-uh.
And this is, again, after cutting down.
All right.
There's probably 20% of what was in there.
Let's get through this. Let's do it.
Let's do this. Are you ready? Brian, are you ready?
Jack
ready.
Nicholson and Shelley Duvall have expressed open resentment against the reception of this film, feeling that critics and audiences credited Stanley Kubrick solely for the film's success without considering the efforts of the actors, crew, or the strength of Stephen King's underlying material. Nicholson and Duvall have said that the film was one of the hardest of their careers. In fact, Nicholson considered Duvall's performance the most difficult role he's ever seen an actress take on. Duvall also considers her performance the hardest of her life.
Yeah.
That'll be more. Let's read this next one. Shelley Duvall suffered from nervous exhaustion throughout filming, including physical illness and hair loss.
Yeah. Not great.
No. While director Stanley Kubrick was famously very demanding and intimidating on set to the point of driving both Shelley Duvall and Scatman Crothers to tears, he had a good relationship with Danny Lloyd. In later interviews, the little boy, Danny, in later interviews as an adult, Lloyd mentioned that Kubrick even used to play ball with him. For years after the movie, Kubrick sent Christmas cards to the Lloyd family and even phoned Danny to congratulate him for his high school graduation.
I like that he just, the idea of like, well, I could just totally psychologically abuse all the adults, but the kids too far.
Right, yeah, exactly.
But I gotta Keep in touch with him. I'll psychologically abuse him when he turns 18. Don't you goddamn worry.
Yes.
It's coming.
His 18th birthday, he just gets a phone call of him just eviscerating him.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah.
Your role was shit.
Despite Stanley Kubrick's fierce demands on everyone, Jack Nicholson admitted to having a good working relationship with him. It was Shelley Duvall that he was a completely different director. He allegedly picked on her more than anyone else, as seen in 2 documentaries. He would really lose his temper with her, even going so far as to say that she was wasting the time of everyone on set. She later reflected that he was probably pushing her to the limits to get the best out of her, and that she wouldn't trade the experience for anything, but it was something she never wished to repeat.
Oh, yeah. That's, yeah.
I also
Fucking
read
brutal.
another one where she said she think it scarred her for life. So
Sure.
that one,
yeah.
I don't think ended up making the cut. Oh, and I packed all these Shelley Duvall ones up top. Because I know everybody kind of knows he famously mistreated her on set.
Totally.
Yeah, fuck him.
During an interview for Britain's 100 Greatest Scary Moments, Shelley Duvall revealed that due to her role requiring her to be in almost constant state of hysteria, she eventually ran out of tears from crying so hard. To overcome this, she kept bottles of water with her at all times on set to remain hydrated.
You got to hydrate.
Can you imagine?
Yes.
You've been crying so much that you have to have emergency bottles of water to chug so you can try to squeeze them out of your eyes.
Sounds horrible.
It's fucking insane.
Shelley Duvall received no sympathy at all from anyone on set. This was apparently Stanley Kubrick's tactic in making her feel utterly hopeless. This is the most evident in the documentary when Vivian Kubrick this is written poorly. When Stanley Kubrick tells Vivian, don't sympathize with Shelley, he then turns to Shelley Duvall and says, it doesn't help you. So it's really all part of his plan. He's a real Jack Torrance, this guy, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. You think you're just king shit of fuck mountain.
Here we fucking go.
Here we go.
I'm just going to cut it.
I don't believe that.
I'm just going to cut it. I don't even want to fucking hear it.
Brian, just bleep that.
It's not even being bleeped. It's cut.
Following the film's initial mixed reception, The Shining was nominated for 2 Golden Razzie Awards. Worst Actress for Shelley Duvall and Worst Director for Stanley Kubrick, losing both awards, which means they got the awards. However, on March 31st, 2022, the Razzie Committee officially rescinded Duvall's nomination. Oh no, losing meaning they did lose, it was just a nomination. Anyway, they rescinded it, saying, we have since discovered that Duvall's performance was impacted by Stanley Kubrick's treatment of her throughout the production.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like,
I love the fact that the Razzies, yeah,
they left his alone.
But it is hilarious that they will nominate someone like that, because what was it, a few years ago they nominated a 9-year-old kid.
They're horrible. I hate the Razzies.
Yeah.
The more
for the most part, I'm not on board with it. It's every now and then,
and it's like kind of. If it were less mean spirited, I guess.
Right. Exactly.
But it just kind of seems mean. You know what I mean?
Yes. Totally.
Like if they did it for like most hysterical woman, like stereotypical portrayal of a hysterical woman, then they're making fun of like
tropes
not her.
And stuff like that.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
But I don't know. Whatever. Fucking whatever.
Wait a second. Are you Kubricking this entire episode now?
It's my United States or whatever is what it is. All right, let's keep going. Stanley Kubrick.
Let's keep going.
Known for his compulsiveness.
Shut up. Let's keep going. Use it.
Another take. So part of the numerous takes thing, though, is they didn't do any rehearsals. So the first however many takes were the rehearsals. And then he would want all these different versions of everything as well. So, yeah, a lot of stuff was 30 to 90 takes.
God, that's excruciating.
And it's exaggerated because a lot of people will say in the hundreds, 150 takes or whatever. And everybody worked on it. It's like, it wasn't that much. I mean, it was a fucking lot, but it was not that much.
It wasn't that much.
Stanley Kubrick, known for his compulsiveness and numerous retakes, got the difficult shot of the blood pouring from the elevator in only 3 takes. This would be unremarkable if it weren't for the fact that the shot took 9 days to set up. Every time the doors opened and the blood poured out, Kubrick would say, "It doesn't look like blood." In the end, the shot took approximately a year to get right. And we kind of already touched on the fact that it kind of doesn't. I mean, we know it is blood, but it's not.
Yes.
It doesn't give us icky blood.
It looks great, but it's not off-putting,
yeah.
if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. There were so many changes to the script during shooting. A scene change was made almost daily. The Jack Nicholson claimed he stopped reading the script. He would only read the new pages that were given to him each day. Nicholson also said that eventually, when presented with a revised scene, he would throw it in the trash, knowing that another one was coming anyway.
Sounds great.
Stanley Kubrick. Yeah. Kubrick wanted to shoot the film in script order. This meant having all the relevant sets standing by at all times. In order to achieve this, every soundstage at the studios was all the sets were built and pre-lit and ready to go during the entire shoot, which is crazy.
Imagine just the power and
exactly.
manpower, electric power, all of that involved just to have something that probably didn't even get touched that day.
Oh yeah, that's like what, especially because one of them, when they first walk into the Colorado room or whatever they call it, and there's those big windows. I deleted it, but those were all lit by like 100,000 watt lights. I went back and looked at the scene. It looks amazing, but it's all just big ass lights out there to make it look like it's like whited out, It's cool. Anyway, Stanley Kubrick decided that the hedge animals that come alive in the book was unworkable due to the restrictions in special effects.
Smart.
So he opted for the hedge maze instead.
Yeah,
Incredibly
I would say
smart.
the giant topiaries.
I'd say in 1990, whatever, when they try again, they still weren't ready to do it.
Still didn't get it.
And the hedge maze works so well. It's amazing. It's one of the my favorite parts. Kubrick's perfectionism extended to insisting that cast members be on set to be measured for the lighting of a scene, something that is normally done with stand-ins. Nicholson claimed that Kubrick is the only director he's ever worked with that required actors to pose for the lighting, which required they arrive on set several hours early.
Damn.
Yeah.
So the torment can get earlier, though.
Yeah. Well, I guess you get a little break after that, work up to it.
Get tormented, get a snack, get tormented again.
To construct the interiors of the Overlook Hotel, Kubrick and production designer Roy Walker purposely set out to make it look like an amalgamation of bits and pieces of real hotels rather than giving it one single design aesthetic. Kubrick had sent many photographers around the country photographing hotel rooms and picking his favorites. The Red Men's bathroom was modeled on a men's room in the Biltmore Hotel in Arizona. The Colorado Lounge was modeled on the lounge in the Wani Hotel in Yosemite Valley. Chandeliers, windows, fireplace are nearly identical to that hotel. I just thought it was interesting that it's an amalgamation of real American hotels, especially that bathroom, because that stands out so much. It seems like it had to be purposely designed just for this.
That probably does give like an uncanny sense of like, if you're taking bits and pieces from a bunch of hotels all over like the United States, it creates this weird like chimera of like an American hotel.
Yeah, and it adds to or helps with the disjointedness of the hotel, how you're never really sure how everything links together.
Works. Yeah.
Saul Bass reportedly produced around 300 versions of the film's poster before Kubrick was satisfied. Rough. Garrett Brown accomplished many of the ultra-low tracking corridor sequences from a wheelchair on which the Steadicam was mounted. And Grips would just, pull it around for whatever they needed. Scatman Crothers was friends with Nicholson, and when he heard about the movie, he asked him to put in a good word with Kubrick.
And then Kubrick made him cry.
Yes, he did.
Please let me read this movie.
This one I kept in because you had already told me part of this quote, Ross. Stephen King was disappointed in this film. In an interview in the June 1986 issue of American Film, he said, quote, "It's like a great big beautiful Cadillac with no motor inside. You can sit in it and you can enjoy the smell of the leather upholstery. The only thing you can't do is drive it anywhere. So I would do everything different. The real problem is that Kubrick set out to make a horror picture with no apparent understanding of the genre. Everything about it screams that from beginning to end, from plot decisions to the final scene." So, yeah. Not only is he upset with, the changes, he thinks Kubrick doesn't know how to make a horror movie. Which is an interesting take.
It's very interesting because his fucking version is shit compared to this. This is a much better movie. This is a great movie adaptation of what it is. I understand that the later one that came out is more accurate to the book, but who fucking cares? It's not as good. It's a 3-part miniseries that's kind of accurate to a book that's much better than what I saw on the screen. Like, this is a better movie.
Wasn't it made for TV USA movie?
It was made for TV, yes. Somewhere.
I think it was a main network. I'm not sure.
It might have been
whatever
like
network
ABC or
did
something.
The Stand.
I was able to watch it because I remember being really young.
Like
I had read The Shining. I was really into The Shining, so I was excited and liked it when I was younger. But going upon and revisiting it, I was like, again, like not the hedge maze, the animals and all that stuff. There's a lot that goes on. The fucking fire hose that comes to life and has like teeth in it and shit. It's just there's a lot of really funny stuff to it, and the made for TV feel of it really felt toned down for me for the sense of dread that I feel like when I watch this version.
Right, absolutely.
Absolutely. I don't know. That's my opinion. It's hilarious. It was a fun time. Steven Weber. I love Steven Weber. He's great.
Does he do a good job or not do a good job?
I'm trying to remember how it wasn't bad. I think
given
it was
what
pretty
he's
good.
working with.
Yeah. There's a lot of.
I know that it's directed by Mick Garris. Shout out. Postmortem with Mick Garris is my favorite horror podcast. It's over. It doesn't exist anymore, but I'm listening to old episodes. Anyway, Danny Lloyd grew up to be a biology professor.
Awesome. Good for him.
He doesn't like to talk about the movie. He tells students not to talk about it.
I'm sure.
Reportedly. Most of the elaborate urban legends and conspiracy theories surrounding this film, ranging from its serving as a Holocaust metaphor to a confession that Kubrick helped fake the moon landing, were refuted by Stanley Kubrick during his lifetime or later by the surviving cast and crew. For example, the famous impossible corridors are a result of set logistics. Kubrick wanted to shoot Danny on his big wheel in unbroken takes, so the hallways had to connect. And the only way the crew could construct them to fit Kubrick's vision meant mirroring the set for available soundstage space. So, yeah. No, I was just making a movie. I'm good at making movies and figuring out how to do stuff.
Right?
Approximately 4,000 people auditioned for the role of Danny Torrance over a 6-month period. It's a lot.
Wow, that's a lot.
The film was shot in the same film studio that was used for Empire Strikes Back. In fact, much of the same fake snow was used for the Hoth scenes. That's fun.
Ooh, nice. Hoth snow is shining snow?
Yeah. They're set in the same universe. far away. That's what's... don't even get me started. That's my theory. The film is one of the only adaptations of Stephen King's novel that King himself always remembered hating for years and years, and he still doesn't like it now. However, King did say that after he saw Dr. Sleep, an adaptation of King's novel of the same name and a sequel to his novel The Shining, he now appreciates Kubrick's film a lot more. King has also said that in the past he didn't really care or pay much attention to his film adaptations. Anyway, apparently something about Dr. Sleep made him change his mind.
I highly recommend a double feature. Shining and then Dr. Sleep back to back is fucking
I was trying to get it before doing this because who knows when I'm going to watch The Shining again now. I watched it twice for this.
Totally.
But that sounds great. Stephen King said Stanley's Kubrick's version of Wendy Torrance is one of the most misogynistic characters ever to be put to film. He said, "She's just there to scream and be stupid."
I mean,
he's not totally wrong. I don't think she's
he's not
stupid,
wrong.
But I think that I would agree otherwise.
In comparison
and I think
to
she's a lot of other
the
things. She's
source
meek,
material,
subservient.
Absolutely. Yeah. I would agree with that.
This movie is in the National Film Registry at the Library of Congress. This is a little bit of a long one. Monday, September 29th, 1980 was the night of The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson's annual anniversary show, the 18th anniversary show. It was 10 weeks after the release of this movie, but most Americans had not seen it yet and were not aware of any details beyond it being some sort of horror film starring Jack Nicholson. That evening, when people tuned in for the show, it did not start off with the normal theme song and visuals, but for no apparent reason, there was an immediate cut from the normal coming up next bumper to a film sequence. There was Nicholson running with an axe, Shelley Duvall screaming, the axe going through the door, then Nicholson saying the now famous "Here's Johnny" line, at which time the Tonight Show theme played and the show started. It was one of the funniest moments in the history of television. It also drove another couple of million people to go see the movie, giving it an unexpected extended run.
That is pretty funny. That's actually kind of
I thought that was like a cool fun fact. This is fucking Kubrick. Stanley Kubrick also made casting decisions for dubbing actors in other countries. In Spain, actor and actress Joaquin Hinojosa and Veronica Forqué did the voices of Jack and Wendy Torrance, respectively. Both had little experience in dubbing. In Spain, this dubbing is considered one of the worst dubbings ever made due to the casting choice.
Oh, interesting.
Now I want to hear it.
I love that. I wonder if we'd be able to tell. I wondered, will I be able to tell that this is bad, since I only will be able to pick up certain words here and there.
Right.
That's true.
But I thought that was hilarious. In order to help Danny Lloyd stay entertained and away from the darker elements of the movie, he was brought to watch the filming of The Muppet Show, which was filmed just next door.
Oh, that's good.
Really taking care of this guy.
Just the juxtaposition
because he's gonna fucking terrorize him later.
Yeah, Kubrick. I like the fact that just in my head, Kubrick is taking him to go see the Muppets being filmed. He goes, "All right, you just hang out here," and then going back to set and then making Shelley Duvall cry. And then it's like, all right, let's shoot these 3 times, and then let's bring Danny back. Come on back. How is the Muppets?
Right. This is my last one here, and I did not notice this, but could be in there, so I kept it. Early in the film, Danny leaves a doll lying around in the lobby of the hotel. The doll is a black character wearing a red sweater. Later in the film, Dick Halloran is killed in the exact same spot where the doll was lying.
Oh, I never knew that.
It's one of those I'd had to watch and see it's there. I can't swear to it, but it's interesting. And I could see it being real. All right. Who picked it? Why in history? Kind of touched on this. This is my pick because it's hotel month, but I guess my history with it, I don't know when I first saw it. I was a kid. It would have been probably in the time not when I was getting into horror, but I was getting into film, when I was like wanting to see movies that were considered like good movies, well-made movies, great directors, all these things. So I'm pretty sure that is why I first saw it. And I've seen it a fair amount throughout the years. I liked it more, or I was more interested in watching it, I guess, when I was younger, because I haven't seen it in a long time. It is not like a huge movie for me, though. It's not on my, obviously this movie is very important to a lot of people. It is not that to me. I do like it, but I don't consider it untouchable. And we will find that out tonight because I have fun things to say.
You gonna touch it?
He's gonna touch it. Brian is gonna touch it.
Apparently,
Brian, what's your history?
I saw it young. At a sleepover or something. Thought it was pretty cool.
Did you get into it?
I mean,
were you ever?
No, I liked
just
the
a
book, and the movie was pretty cool.
Were you like, man, this movie's not like the book?
Not necessarily. I don't remember too much, to be honest.
Sure. I don't remember too much, to be honest. Fair.
Just high on that mountain.
Ross?
Oh, man. I do remember seeing this young. I think realistically, because we kind of talked about it, it's so low on the Gorometer that it was at least it was a passable watch in my household growing up.
Totally.
The only thing that it was really the room tour 237.
237, yeah, totally.
You had to have your eyes closed. So like that was the only scene where my mom was like, okay, this you're not full frontal nudity. She's like, nope, you're closing your eyes. Okay, and the scene's done. All right, you can watch the rest of it. No, I remember I've had a version of this in every format. Like I've had it on VHS, I've had it on DVD, and I've had it on Blu-ray.
Beta and Laserdisc. Do you have it on 4K?
Yes,
I have
beta
it on 4K.
No, I don't have the 4K yet, dude. I'm a barbarian, just living in the past. No, but I mean, it's a weird one because like I had the poster up in my room for the longest time. Like this was something I used to watch almost ad nauseum. I mean, it is probably the gateway drug that got me into reading a lot of Stephen King. And then getting down the Stephen King rabbit hole. I would give The Shining 100%. And then what's really funny is that after reading The Shining and how different it is from the
movie,
from the Kubrick film, it made me be like, well, shit, what about all these other Stephen King movies that I've seen? Like, how different are they from that? Which I was like, oh, that got me on like, I think my first, right after The Shining was Jerusalem's Lot, like Salem's Lot. Like that was the first, because I love that movie. And I was like, how fucking different is it? Thanks, Shining.
How different is it?
It's not super bad, but there's some stuff that they,
changed.
Like honestly, all interpretations. You're not going to get everything done.
Sorry.
No, go for it.
I've never read any Stephen King horror story.
Oh.
That's all. Read non-horror.
That's true. But I mean, this is getting nice. But do you read fiction for pleasure? Like, do you read a lot of books? Or
I did before I had kids.
Yes.
But I don't read horror really at all. I never have.
Mm-hmm. Just for your peoples.
Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and talk about this 2.5 long ass movie. 2.5 hour long movie.
2.5 hour long movie.
Starts. Music. Long tracking helicopter shots follow Jack's car to the Overlook. IMDb behind the scenes jumping back in. Shadow of a helicopter is in an opening shot. That was a framing error.
Yes.
And then that road that they're driving up is the Going to the Sun Road in Glacier National Park, which I've driven on.
Ooh.
And it's a very cool road. It gets closed during the winters, just like they say. And I highly recommend anybody go to Glacier National Park if you can. It's dope. One of my favorites.
Not during winter. Don't get stuck.
Boom. Black screen text. The interview.
Jack
has an interview.
Ominous interview.
He's might be taking a caretaking job.
Mm-hmm.
Cut to Danny and Wendy talking about going to the Overlook Hotel, but Tony doesn't want to go. Tony's his little finger.
This is Torrance.
Yeah, a little boy that lives in his mouth. Jack is back to the interview. He's a former school teacher turned writer, and somehow that qualifies him to be a caretaker at this giant hotel during the winter.
Yeah,
sure, why not?
It's like a call from a friend. Yeah,
Jack wants the job for the solitude, but before he takes it, they gotta let him know there was a murder-suicide there about 10 years ago. Charles Grady chopped up his whole family with an axe. Shot himself.
Wife and kids.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, cabin fever can get to people, but you're not worried about that, are you? Like,
of course not.
Already looking crazy, like just simmering under the surface.
No, it's fine. My wife loves horror movies.
Jack is happy to take the job. Now Danny is talking to Tony in the mirror. So he's talking to his little finger friend in the mirror. And this is when we know he has psychic powers because he knows Tony's telling him the phone's going to ring and that Jack got the job.
He got the job, yeah.
Tony won't tell Danny why he doesn't want to go to the Overlook Hotel. And Danny has a vision of blood elevators and creepy sisters. It seemed he must have had a seizure or something because the next thing we know he's waking up in his bedroom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's like anytime that he has like Tony speaks through him or he has these visions, it seems to have, because he has the same thing with Halloran when he tries contacting him later on in the movie.
What the same?
He has like he's foaming at the mouth and they simulate.
I get whatever happened here because we don't see it, but I get you. That's probably what happened. The doctor comes. This is where we learn that Tony's a little boy that lives in his mouth. The doctor talks to Wendy about Tony, And we learned that Danny had an injury. And how did he have this injury? His shoulder was separated. Oh, it was just an accident. These things happen. Could have happened to anybody. Jack,
parent, deflecting,
got mad, grabbed Danny by the arm, and did it with just too much force and pulled his shoulder out.
Arm.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Brutal. Closing day.
Bum bum. Because now what they're in there, because closing day is October 30th, right? So they move in on Halloween and they stay there until spring.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
I didn't think about it that way, but they do move in there on Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, spooky. Ooh. I wonder what's going to happen.
I do like all the tidbits that they talk about, especially like in the tour scene where they're like, yeah, it's like ancient, this probably ancient Indian burial ground, because while they were building this in 1908, but they had tribes of Native Americans attacking them while they were doing this. And then like tons of people, like all these people lived here, that all this gnarly shit happened all around, but don't worry about that. Let's go check out the kitchen.
I like when he's like celebrities, athletes, naming famous people. And she says, did any royalty? And he says, all the best people.
All of the best people.
Closing day. The Torrance family drives to the Overlook. They talk about the Donner Party. And, Danny knows what cannibalism is because he saw it on TV.
Jack's character from Jump Street is on the precipice of a mental breakdown even before getting.
Absolutely. This is the car right up there. He was like on edge.
Well, he's 5 months on the wagon.
Fucking hates his family already.
He hates his family. He's already has issues with his family. He's off of drinking. It's just like, it's an accumulation of a bunch of shit. And you can clearly tell that he is not the biggest fan of the situation or his life.
He's driving up there thinking about, I can't wait to fucking kill these people.
Yeah.
All right. Now they're getting that tour that we mentioned. Danny's in the game room alone, and he sees the sisters. Jack and Wendy see their living quarters. Now they're outside. They learn about the hedge maze. We see the gold room, the ballroom. But we learn
fully refurbished.
Yeah. And Wendy loves gold, so she's going to love being there in that room, I guess. But there's no alcohol. They take all the alcohol off premises because it brings down the insurance. But that's okay. They don't drink, Jack says. We meet Dick Halloran, and he shows Wendy and Danny the kitchen. This is Scatman Crothers.
Mm-hmm.
Scatman.
There it is.
Question. I don't know in the copies that you guys have. In my Blu-ray, the audio of like that weird like kind of like
the ringing
out, like the ringing is astronomically louder than the actual audio dialogue between characters. So I had to switch between turning it down while all of these crazy audio effect things were going on and then having to turning it up.
Like, you mean it drowns out what he's saying?
No. What I'm saying is that it was ear piercing. And then the dialogue at the same tonal value was like, I had to turn my volume up to hear people, but the actual audio level.
What I'm saying is, isn't the ringing supposed to be drowning out the people, so you're not supposed to be hearing them?
No. I mean, yes, but no. It's like, it's supposed to be background noise. But the actual, the audio.
Hold on. So let's make sure we're talking about the same point, because maybe we're talking about separate parts.
In Halloran's scene, he's talking and then his voice gets drowned out by this. And that's when he's using The Shining.
Yes.
That totally. But in other scenes with the same kind of effect in the background. That's what I was like having to frantically go back and forth. This Halloran scene, it's supposed to fade out.
Right. Because that's the scene that we're about to talk about. So that's what I thought you were saying.
Yeah. No.
I was like, we can't be talking about the same thing because this is clearly intentional.
I rewinded that 13 times and I couldn't understand a thing I said.
So, yeah, this is when he gets the tour of the kitchen and we get the ringing, and Dick calls. Well, first Dick calls Danny a couple times, which is strange because it's a family nickname that they haven't said in front of him yet. Now, as they're showing him the dry stock room, the ringing gets loud, and Dick telepathically says to Danny, "How would you like some ice cream, Doc?" Danny and Dick...
Ice cream.
Yeah. Parents split off for more touring. Danny and Dick sit down for ice cream, and we get the Shining scene where he tells them, look...
Talks about the Shining and stuff like that.
You got the gift. My grandma called it Shining. We used to talk telepathically. You have it too. Sort of teaches them about it a little.
I also really like in this scene that there are... And in other novels and stuff like that, they do explore the idea of the Shining having like different power levels. So like Scatman's is at like a 3. Like he can read stuff, he gets feelings about stuff, and he can shine. But then like Danny apparently is way like if he's a 3, like Danny's like a 10.
Mm-hmm.
So like he was getting like he's talking about the Shining, but then he's taken back during the dialogue scene because he's like, well, why are you afraid of 237? And then like, why this? Like he's reading him without Halloran knowing,
right?
Which is freaking him out because he's like, oh shit, like I have this, but like you've really got this. And I really like the realization as the dialogue progresses is that Halloran's like, oh shit, like this kid's got it, but like this is way more advanced than what I've got.
I like the way he frames all his answers too. It's like doing it from like a standpoint. He really talks to Danny from the standpoint of Danny having no knowledge about what his gift is and frames it well for him.
Absolutely.
Danny tells Dick that Tony tells him not to talk about it. We also learn the Overlook also shines, and you know that bad things happening are like burnt toast. Some people can see the future, can see the past. Stay out of room 237. You have no business in there. 1 month later,
boom, boom.
Danny is cruising around the hotel on his trike. This is when we get that cool audio changing from the wood to the carpet.
Yes,
that's great.
There's
great.
something in the cockles for that. Not only visually with the steady cam following them, but the sounds. It's
like the origins of like ASMR. You're just like, oh, okay,
right. Wait, do I like ASMR? That's what that scene makes me think.
Yes, exactly.
Wendy brings Jack breakfast in bed because she's awesome and he sucks. I don't even know if she's awesome because we don't get to know her personality at all, but it's very nice of her to be doing this.
Certainly.
During the breakfast in bed, he tells her that during his interview, it was like he already knew the hotel. It was uncanny. It was this strange sense. And now we get Jack throwing the ball around the hotel, all those fun shots. And Danny and Wendy go into the hedge maze.
God, this scene, the juxtaposition of them like going into this maze and then that shot of Jack looking out the window is so like he already looks unhinged. Like he's just staring out even before he gets that weird hallucination thing of them in the model. It's just that look on that dude's face. You're like, oh, ooh, oh no.
I don't particularly recall that particular look, I don't think. That's not the one where he's in all black, right? Like,
I think that's
because that's later. I think. Because all I know is I definitely have a note for when he's just staring off like that, and it's not here.
Off into the thing, it's not here.
Wendy, they go into the hedge maze. Jack looks at the model maze, and we get that cool shot from above of Danny and Wendy in the maze. IMDb behind the scenes. The only shot in the film not achieved in camera was the slow zoom in on the model of the maze with the tiny figures of Danny and Wendy walking around at the center. To achieve this shot, a model of the maze was shot from 6 feet above. Then the small central section of the maze was built to scale next to an apartment complex. Shelley Duvall and Danny Lloyd then walked around in the central section while the camera crew filmed it from the roof of the apartment building. The two shots were simply composited together.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. It's fun too because like there was a
I love that shot too. It's just so cool looking.
It's just so fun. Yeah, I think
like,
it's because
just
everything else is,
regardless of what it means story wise or what you're thinking is happening, it's just cool.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't expecting it because in a lot of these things, like that's such a surreal thing to throw in when everything else is very practical. So it's just yeah. Also, that model is wild. because it was was it Adam Savage? Was it Adam Savage? He built a replica of it.
I left it out, but apparently he didn't build a replica of that model. He built a replica of the hedge maze itself, because apparently his model was more accurate than the model used in that movie, according to the IMDb behind the scenes.
Oh, that is true. Yes. Yeah, because the entire sequence of the actual model doesn't match up with the map. So that's right, because he used the map as the model to make it to the size of that it actually needed to be. That was in the film.
Okay. I didn't see it. I just read the trivia. Tuesday. Tracking Danny riding through the hotel, he suddenly stops and looks back at room 237. He tries to open the door, but it's locked. The sisters watch, and he rides off.
Those twins, dude.
Jack is typing away. Wendy comes to see him, and he is a real dick. This is when we get when you hear me, if you hear the typing, or whether you don't hear me typing, or whatever the fuck you hear me doing when I'm in this room, don't come in here.
So what I find really interesting, and it took me a while, obviously it took me after reading the book to realize in this scene, is that in the novel, Jack decides to write a book about the Overlook Hotel and all the insane shit and murders and unexplained stuff that has happened. And that's technically what his writing is. You see the scrapbook that he's in the novel he finds in the basement, or in the boiler room, I think. The boiler basement. It's on the table while this scene is going on. They just never address it. So there's this open scrapbook full of newspaper clippings and stuff like that, which I was like, God, that's such a weird thing to put in, but not specifically reference that that's what he's writing.
It is, but it doesn't surprise me because this movie is full of question marks like that.
Yeah.
Thursday. It's snowing big time. Oh, this is it. Danny and Wendy play outside while Jack stares like a crazy person.
Yes, there we go. I knew there was
they're playing in the snow. They're throwing snowballs at each other, and then he's in there, in that sweater, just staring out the window, looking.
Did we already get past the TV
almost
scene?
Catatonic?
Where Danny's watching TV?
I don't think so. Okay. No. What, is it just Danny or Danny and Wendy?
It might be Danny and Wendy. Oh, it might be about, I don't know. The only thing I remember from that is a factoid is that the TV's unplugged.
I didn't skip any scenes. No, we haven't got to that yet.
Yeah.
Saturday. It's still storming. Jack's writing. The phones are down. Wendy goes to the office and uses the radio to have a nice little chat with the U.S. Forest Service. They tell her, leave her radio on. I like how you can see how desperate she is to have a conversation with somebody.
Totally. Because the idea of, because they bring it up in the beginning during the interview, of the idea of cabin fever, and having that compounded the fact that your husband that you're staying there with wants nothing to do with you and spends most of the day in a room that now he's screamed and yelled at you for coming into. So the isolation alone.
And you only have a 7-year-old to keep you company. I mean, you love your son, but it is still a 7-year-old as your only other thing to talk to
for 5 months.
Yeah. An adult conversation would be nice.
Yeah. Definitely she's desperate.
Unless you're talking to Tony. I mean, maybe Tony could really break it down.
See, I want the Tony cut.
Release the Tony cut. Wendy. Yeah. So she does that, leaves the radio on. Now we're tracking Danny again. More of these awesome tracking shots. Corner sisters.
Hello, Danny.
Come and play with us, Danny.
Play with us, Danny, forever and ever.
And ever. And ever.
Even to this day.
And he has visions of them chopped up in the hallway. So this was one of the things that upped my gore.
Totally.
Out the
doubleheader.
There was this in Scatman Crothers.
Absolutely. A doubleheader twin child death in a hallway.
But this hallway is pretty nasty.
It's fucking brutal. And I think, honestly, dude, it still hits. I've seen this movie 1,000 times, and every time I see that, it just, I get flamingo follicles. I don't know. I mean, I don't know why. I feel after a certain point I shouldn't, but it is. It's such a I think it's just the look of sheer shock and terror on Danny's face. And then the juxtaposition of like it's not a strobe effect, but it's such a quick cut between normal hallway and then what the hallucination is and then cutting through it.
Right.
Which is just like, and I do like how the hotel, it does have The Shining, and it's like, I always compared this to like if Halloran was a 9-volt battery, then Danny is like a nuclear reactor core. And because of his shining, instead of like minimal hallucinations, now because of how he shines, this building's feeding off of it. So like it's affecting everyone. Like,
right.
Which I think is just such a really interesting fact where like I wonder, obviously it would be.
So do you think Danny is what set it off? Do you think maybe one of the Grady girls also was a super shiner?
It could, yeah. You know what I mean? I think it's also like, I mean, it sounds weird just
because one of my things is like, why is the hotel not causing problems when it's not winter?
When it's not, well,
it's spring and summer.
I mean, it could just be the amount of people that are in it, and it could be like, I don't think they really get into it, but like a lot of the horrific events that happened while people are staying there during the normal like time.
Sure.
So it's like,
well, like in this movie, the only thing for this, because it's not the book, the only bad thing I know that's happened there is this groundskeeper or caretaker killed his family and himself.
Yeah. So like apparently there's like, I mean, in the novel there's like fires and murders and suicides, and like I think that they give some explanation to the woman in 237. So like a lot of
they definitely do. I cut that out, but they do.
And yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah, room 237 in this is like just a total mystery.
Absolutely.
Like,
and I think a lot of this is, I mean, obviously it is intentional. It's that like you're in the shoes of particularly Shelley Duvall's character and Danny, you know what I mean? Where it's like, because in the novel, Jack knows about all of these people and all of these ghosts. Like, not necessarily like that they're ghosts, but he knows about all these horrific events. So when he sees them around, he's like, oh, fuck, you're that. It's kind of like the Grady, like the when he talks to Grady in the bathroom. Because he's like, I saw your picture. I know exactly who the fuck you are.
Right. Monday. Wendy and Danny watch TV. There it is. The TV that they are watching is not plugged in. There's sitting in the middle of the room. There's no possible.
Is it The Shining?
Way.
Is he shining? Is he shining on that TV?
Maybe he is. Danny wants to get something from his room and promises to be quiet because Jack just is up there sleeping. But he's not up there sleeping. He's sitting at the edge of his bed, seeming very on edge.
Just
to put it mildly. He calls Danny over and they have a tense little talk. Danny is clearly scared of him. He asks if he's going to hurt him. He says, no, where would you get a thought like that? Your mother?
It's like, oh, okay.
No, you look scary and you've hurt me before.
Hey, Dad, you've broken me before and you seem incredibly unhinged. But you like it here, right? You like it here? Would you like to? It's
important to me that you like it here.
You got to stay here forever.
Brian has left, if anybody's wondering why he's so quiet.
Yes. No, it's actually Brian is just sitting in the corner with the Jack Torrance black t-shirt face.
Yeah.
Black turtleneck just staring at us while we're doing it.
Mm-hmm. He totally lost it.
Yeah.
Wednesday.
What happened on Tuesday? Nothing happened. Nothing happened on Tuesday.
We don't know. I guess not. Danny goes past 237 and it's open. He goes into the room calling for his mom. Danny
fucked around and he found out.
Well, he finds something. We don't know. It's not good. Wendy is in a maintenance room when she hears Jack's cries. He's asleep at his writing desk having a nightmare.
Screaming.
Yeah. Like, whoa. Wendy wakes him and he tells her he had a nightmare that he killed her and Danny. Chopped him up into little pieces.
I didn't just kill you. I chopped you up into little pieces.
That's right.
At that point, I mean, does Wendy know about Grady? I feel that she does.
I don't know.
Doesn't.
I don't know if Jack told her.
But it's one of those. I mean, obviously, and they bring it up. It's like I think even before Danny comes back in, it's that like we need to get the fuck out of here. I think is kind of the like would have been the general consensus of logic.
Maybe. Well, I mean, she comes to that conclusion not long after this.
That's very true.
When Danny walks in the room, silent, but his shirt is torn and he has bruises on his neck. Wendy decides Jack must have done it to him somehow, and she runs off with Danny. Another moment of Danny Lloyd being protected. He was not actually in this. When she's holding him, she is holding a doll because they didn't want him to hear all the argument.
Oh, yeah.
So when that whole time, and when she runs off, it kind of is clear that it is a doll.
It's just a doll.
Because I was like, why are his legs like that? Now I know.
Right. Well, it's also, I love Jack's face in this too, where like he's just had this like he's
stunned.
He literally says he's losing his mind. And then all of a sudden it's like, you heard him, you son of a bitch. And it's like, obviously, Wendy's going to think that because there's only 3 people in this hotel.
Who else could it be?
Who else the fuck could it be? Well, we're about to find out.
Jack mutters his way to the gold room where he would give his soul for a beer. And we get our first encounter with Lloyd the bartender.
Ooh, Lloyd.
Which I love that shot of him like sort of losing it and pulling his hands down his face and then smiling.
Yeah.
It's just so cool.
It's like it is a really interesting transformation between like sanity and insanity. Mm-hmm. And how the hotel is, as much as the hotel is feeding off of Danny's shining, it's also feeding off of Jack's anger and depression and alcoholism. Well,
I think it absolutely is. But so do you think either Jack or Wendy shine? Because we know it can run in the family from...
Yeah, I honestly think Jack does have a version of The Shining, which even minimally, with having Danny there, I think it like propels it. But he's the only person that actually sees these entities, shy of the end of the film when Wendy starts seeing a ton of shit on the way out, where it's like in the building of this though is that it's just Danny and Jack really experiencing the supernatural horror of what's going on until basically like the balloon pops at the hotel.
Maybe her seeing all that stuff in the hotel is from Danny's like super shining going off, like trying to get his mom to help him.
Totally.
He's just setting the hotel shining off.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like it's putting him in overdrive, which makes the hotel in overdrive.
Mm-hmm. Jack gets served some Jack Daniels. Jack thought he had cash, but he doesn't. That's okay. His credit is fine.
Bourbon on the rocks.
Jack bitches about his wife and his kid. He's a real asshole. Complains about how he's like still getting blamed for hurting Danny. It's like just one little pressure per inch per second. Yeah. It really just excuses after excuses.
And it really shows the underbelly of who he is as a character and how he really does view his wife and child. Like on the surface, I love my wife, I love my kid. But underneath it, after a few drinks, it is, I resent my kid. I resent my wife. More importantly, I really resent my wife for what he considers a misunderstanding. I like that he breaks his kid's arm and it's a misunderstanding.
Mm-hmm. Could happen to anyone. Wendy runs screaming down the hall to Jack in the ballroom. She this makes me laugh every time. She tells him there's someone else in the hotel, a woman that tried to strangle Danny. He looks at her and asks, "Are you out of your fucking mind?"
I love that. This man is talking to ghost bartender, and then all of a sudden, what are you out of your fucking mind?
Serving him alcohol that doesn't exist. Like,
and it's this weird gaslighting throughout the entire thing, because after the encounter in 237, he's like, I didn't see anything. I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's total gaslighting. Absolutely. Wendy says it's real. He asks which room it is. Cut to Dick Halloran watching local Miami news with nude women with big afros. One of the biggest afros I've ever seen.
Okay, I hope to
painted
God
on the wall like paintings.
That is Halloran's house. Like if that's an extended stay, that's fucking amazing. But like I want him to own that painting.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a really stupid side tangent, but we the tattoo shop that I'm part of, Primrose Tattoo, we were in part of forever ago. I'm talking like 12, 13 years ago, was part of a Shining group art show.
Okay.
And I did Jack Torrance Frozen, but it had like Crown of Thorns and a bunch of other stuff with like a hedge maze in the background. Little Joe Adamson did the fucking pinup portrait, right? Mm-hmm. Of the Halloran. He did two. So he did two paintings. He did the Halloran pinup from this hotel room. And then he also did a Scottish one for Willie for the Treehouse of Horror episode.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
So every time I watch this movie now and I see the pinup on the wall, all I think of is just bagpipes and like a Scottish version of that.
That's hilarious. IMDb behind the scenes bumping in. According to second unit cameraman Jeff Blythe, a scene was filmed on the Pacific Coast Highway in which Dick Halloran is driving along and receives a telepathic distress call from Danny. Dick then loses control of the car and almost crashes into oncoming traffic. Blythe said it was a dangerous scene to shoot and was disappointed that Kubrick replaced it with a scene where Dick is simply lying in bed watching TV. But
oh my God,
that is what it is.
Yeah.
He's watching the news, hearing about Colorado storms, and then he gets an SOS shining from Danny.
Yeah.
It sends him into a state.
Which is also wild.
And also
because
talking about how powerful he is. He's in Miami. They're in Colorado.
And can still shine hard enough to like shoot out a distress signal is like, what the shit?
And he still doesn't know how to use any of this yet. You know?
This is all like natural talent, I guess would be the best way of putting that.
Absolutely. Jack goes into room 237 and the carpet and the design are totally different than the rest of the hotel.
That green purple, bro, is so appealing to my eyeballs. Like it's
Same.
I know it's Barney colors. I don't give a shit.
I prefer it.
Fucking it's so good,
I'm into
dude.
It. I'm into it as well. I just got a green and purple hat at a Rays game because that was their old colors. A hottie in the bathtub and entrances him into a makeout session. But she's a rotten old woman. And Danny is shining it because it's like starts cutting to him and his sort of catatonic shining going on, and also cutting to a woman rising out of the bathtub. But there's also the woman Jack is with. It's hard to tell
she's
exactly
like cackling and yelling at him.
Going on.
Yeah, it's really difficult. Okay, I will tell you this, though. I think it's because I wasn't allowed to watch this scene for the longest time that I built it up in my head. So when I actually got a chance to see this was this weird, like, ooh, nudie, awesome. And then instantaneously screamed my head off when the mirror scene where, like, because it's like, it's an elderly woman and she's got the prosthetic makeup of just
she's like rotting
a rotting corpse in a bathtub. Like she's got fucking like open sores, blisters, like just decomposition. Oh God. Probably the first time I ever screamed oh goo.
Oh, there you go. Origin.
Yeah.
Dick calls the hotel, but the lines are down. Jack comes back to the room and says he found nothing at all. Again, gaslighting because
maybe he did it to himself.
Yeah. Oh God.
What a fucking prick.
Yeah. The worst. Danny is laying down staring wide-eyed and open mouthed.
In my opinion, the nightmare that happened where he chopped like Wendy and Danny up was the last time that we actually saw actual Jack Torrance. And at this point, the hotel's influence from the bar scene on is like almost a half possession. Because like I feel that him knowing the bartender and like that kind of aspect, especially the second go around when we get back to the gold room, is like he's now assimilating into the mythos that is like it is Jack, but it's also not Jack. It's also now just an extension of the hotel.
Well, at this point, I think he's pretty gone.
Yeah. Totally.
For sure. So that's the thing. Like, how do you crank it up from here? That is one of my complaints about this movie is he starts it's clearly crazy, but under the surface. And then it's just like, he's just kind of crazy the whole time. You know?
Yes, totally.
All right. Danny was staring wide-eyed. Wendy says they should leave the hotel, and Jack freaks out. He's very angry. You always got to ruin stuff for me. This is... He makes it all about him again.
Yes.
And then... Yeah. Were you going to say something?
I was just listening to that sweet velvety voice of yours.
Jack is angry
job.
walking down the hall.
Job.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you going to take this away from me? It's like
responsibilities.
God.
I think is this the part where he's like, "Well, you want me back like shoveling snow, working in a car wash? You'd love that, wouldn't you?"
Totally. Yeah. Well, it's just again, it's that pinnacle shifting of blame, and everything is everybody else's problem and not his.
Absolutely.
So it's not that he got fired from being, because I think in the novel he gets fired because of his drinking, and he also injures a student or something.
He injured a student. Yeah. I read that.
So like it's that reoccurring themes of abuse and alcoholism kind of going through, and then kind of coming to, it's just the blame game. You know what I mean?
read something somewhere that Kubrick didn't like that Jack Torrance was written as like an alcoholic with a heart of gold. It was like, no, he was an abusive prick. So that's why he made him an abusive prick.
Yeah, totally. I mean, and it reads. Absolutely.
Jack is angry walking down the hall when he comes across balloons and streamers. He's like, what is going on here?
It's a party.
Dick Halloran calls the ranger station. He'll call back. They're going to radio in to see if everybody's okay at the Overlook. There's a party in the gold room. Jack orders another drink. He has cash this time. He didn't have it the first time, but he does this time.
Yeah, he made sure to, yeah.
But his money's no good here. And it's on the house.
I'm the kind of guy who likes to know who's buying my drinks.
Yeah. But he seems to not care for too long.
Yeah, oh, he's like, you're not supposed to know that.
Like,
I do like that too, is that like the empirical difference between big difference between the novel and the book at this point is that like management or whatever they would like to refer them to you never actually get to see behind that curtain, and that like the hotel is this ominous force, not just a bunch of ghosts trying to make him do shit.
Yeah,
you know
totally.
what I mean?
There's yes.
I also do like the aesthetic of the 1920s. Like that's for whatever reason, the hotel has picked that time era as its favorite era, like between the 20s and the 30s, which I wonder if that's the heyday of the hotel with that so many people being in it.
Could be.
And like, yeah,
absolutely. Then he starts dancing a little bit, and a bunch of creamy drinks. Advocate spilled on his jacket.
Oh, this is going to stain.
So they go to the red bathroom to get cleaned up. Jack learns that the man who spilled this on him is named Delbert Grady. Jack thinks he was the caretaker that killed his family. Now, they say Delbert Grady here. They say Charles Grady in the beginning in his interview. So the first name is different. I meant to like Google something about that, but I'm only just remembering as I'm reading it in my notes.
I can't remember. I mean, it could just be a flub. But again, it's a Kubrick movie, so that could have some weird, like...
Could be a flub, unlikely, but it could be. Jack insists that Grady is the caretaker, but Grady says Jack is the caretaker, and he always has been the caretaker.
Always been the caretaker.
Grady tells Jack his son is attempting to bring an outside party into this situation. And
then a whole lot of...
Yeah. Well, then he says an N-word, and then Jack says an N-word, and he says an N-word cook. And
which is also weirdly even the cadence of these characters is
Jack first ordered a drink. He said white man's burden, Lloyd, white man's burden, which is another weirdly little racist thing in there.
Absolutely. And like you can tell that there's all this like the anger, racism, all this kind of stuff is part of his underbelly, and it's now being exposed, and it's being kind of brought to light by the hotel.
Mm-hmm. Love the look of this bathroom though. Cool as hell.
Okay,
I need to go to the Biltmore Hotel in Arizona.
Cannot stress this enough. With Kubrick's shots, everything looks beautiful.
Yes.
And his use of solid color is amazing. And it's a theme that he does in a lot of his different movies. Eyes Wide Shut is actually another one that uses color palettes to like a nth degree. It's very similar to The Shining, but it's just like everything is like one or two colors, and it absorbs the entire frame.
Right.
And it's just like this bathroom, like that,
and it's
just
balanced.
red.
Yeah.
Yes.
Danny has a great talent that he is going to use against Jack's will. Is that what he says?
Yeah. He needs to be corrected.
Yes. Perhaps they need a good talking to. Perhaps a bit more. Wendy is in her room smoking, crying, and coming up with an escape plan. Danny starts red rubbing in the bedroom, but
Red rum.
Danny's not here. It's just Tony now. And we did learn, I guess we're out of the bathroom scene now, but Grady also says the thing about having to correct his daughters and his wife.
Correct my wife.
Yeah, I had to correct her too.
The way he says that is so fucking unnerving, especially the fact that like because we know what
he meant, killed him with an axe.
His family with a fucking axe. Which again, a big switch up is that obviously in the novel it's a roque club,
which is a croquet club.
Yeah, but like bigger, like fucking like it's like almost
really
like
big mallet.
Not as big as a Harley Quinn mallet, but like bigger than a croquet mallet.
Sure. Okay. Jack walks by the office and hears the radio, so he pops in and pulls out the transistors. Dick calls the station again and is told nobody answered the radio. 8 a.m. Dick is on a plane. He got to it, boy. It was like, I am going to go see what's going down. Props to Dick. Love. Such a shame. We'll get there.
Halloran
it's so lame.
And it really is. Especially the fact that I could be wrong because I have not read the novel in a really long time.
We're not talking about the novel, but
Halloran lives in the book.
That makes it even worse because it's like,
yes,
it's so deflating, which I'm sure is intentional, but poof. Jack is sitting there typing away. Dick lands in Denver and calls up a friend because he needs to borrow a snowcat. Now he is on the road driving to.
We got a bunch of assholes. We're unreliable assholes. Yeah. So I have to go up there.
See if he needs to get some new people.
Replace them. Yeah.
Danny and Wendy are watching Roadrunner. We don't see it, but we hear it. Roadrunner. Meep, meep. Wendy leaves Danny to go talk to Jack and takes a baseball bat with her. Wendy goes to the empty writing room and reads what Jack has been writing, which, of course, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. No TV and no beer make Homer something. Go crazy.
Don't mind if I do. I'm always enamored by that, like someone had to sit down and type like that many pages of that saying in so many structural formats.
IMDb behind the scenes. According to Vivian Kubrick, Stanley Kubrick's secretary spent weeks, if not months, typing dozens of pages for the scene where Wendy discovers it. So it was Kubrick's secretary.
Kubrick's secretary for months.
Yeah.
Just God.
And because you can tell that there's like little mistakes and typos and different things, which that's what my eye is drawn to every time. I'm always looking for the ones that aren't right.
That does also pose the question, is that like, was he insane from Jump Street? Like, was he
had to
that
have
he was
been
actually
insane this whole time, right? Because he's been writing,
or was the hotel? Is he thinks he's actually writing something
else,
and he's actually typing something out, but what in actuality that's all he's typing?
I don't know. I did see one theory. Perhaps you've heard this one. I would like to rewatch it with this theory. Is that all the bad stuff that happens is Jack's writing, like. We see him, the scenes when we see him typing at a typewriter and then we see
something crazy happen.
Yeah. That is him writing the story of him going crazy and killing his family here.
Ooh.
And apparently if you like read up on the theory and watch it, you can easily make sense. Not saying that that's what it is, but you can watch it under that lens very easily, which is interesting. So I remember when I first saw this, that moment like was like the scariest thing to me. The reveal of that he's just been writing this same thing over and over. I was like, oh, like I could not believe it. I remember that very well.
It is really funny that one of the most shocking moments does not have blood or viscera or gore. It is literally just words on a page.
Absolutely.
It's amazing.
So Jack pops out. How do you like it?
How do you like it?
And he's being scary. He's coming at her. Danny shining away when we cut to him. He asks, what do you think should be done with Danny? And she's like, oh, I don't know. And he's like, I think you do. I think you have a really good idea what should be done with Danny. Just, losing his mind.
This stairway scene is just...
Oh, it's incredible. It's one of the things. It's always stood out to me. There's a lot. This whole movie is very sticky, and iconic. Oh, yeah. But this scene in particular.
Give me the bat.
Mm-hmm. Wendy thinks Danny should be taken to a doctor as soon as possible. Oh, you think he needs to go to a doctor? Like, when? Soon? Oh, okay. Like, it's just madness. Jack is making it all about him again, making all these excuses. And then, they're on the staircase. She's swinging the bat. Give me the bat. Wendy, darling,
light of my life. Of my life.
You didn't let me finish. I'm not gonna hurt you.
I'm
I'm just gonna bash your brains in.
I'm gonna bash you right the fuck in.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Absolutely epic. I don't know what song it is, but that's definitely a drop in some metal song that I know.
Oh, absolutely. Almost shit myself the first time I saw that as a kid.
Oh, this was so scary.
Horrifying.
Yeah. But he gets an arm bonk and then a head bonk, and he falls right back down those stairs. This is a fun little note. Wendy Torrance swung the baseball bat 41 times on film.
Oh, wow.
41 times on film. Imagine how many times.
How many fucking takes.
She probably swung that bat 200 times, if not more.
Her arms must have been
dead.
Liquid fire by the end of that.
That's exactly. But he's bonked out. She's dragging him to the dry goods room to lock him in. I love that shot, how it drags with him across the floor, and he's got like the dry drool and is kind of coming to. I love all that. But she locks him in there. He pleads to be let out, but to no avail. Wendy says she's leaving in the snowcat, but she is in for a big surprise. Better go check out the snowcat and radio. I also love that shot.
Surprise.
Down looking up at Jack against the door as he's talking to her through the door. Very cool. She does. She goes to check out the snowcat. 4 p.m.
Boom, boom.
Jack fell asleep in there, but he's awoken by a knock on the door. It's Mr. Grady.
Hello, sir.
Jack wants to be let out, but he doesn't think he should let him out because he hasn't corrected his family like he said he would. But Jack promises if he lets him out, he'll do just that. And they do let him out. The door opens.
So this is also one of those weird scenes where everything up until this point
could just be in his head, but this can't be.
This physically can't be. Same thing with like 237. I mean, obviously Danny's fucked up, so like something happened in that room. Mm-hmm. But it is the first time that okay, so this is the hotel directly affecting the physical realm.
Yeah, absolutely. Dick is in the snowcat and on his way. Danny is red rumming again, and we learn red rum is murder.
Murder!
Which I'm sure was very exciting at the time. Somehow I know I definitely already knew red rum was murder by the time I saw this movie.
Yeah.
Jack is at the door with an axe, and they attempt to escape through the bathroom window, but only Danny fits. She tells Danny to run.
God.
Jack axes the bathroom door, and we get Here's Johnny. One of the most iconic moments in film history.
The scene where the camera is moving to the motion of his axe swings.
Oh my God. I only noticed that it was moving to the motion of the axe swings on my second watch.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
dude,
this
it's
time.
so it's so raw.
Yeah.
Like I've never to this day, like that is like
such a
when
great
I think
idea.
of like
Apparently Kubrick did that himself, the movements. That was like one thing that he was like, most everything it, was a cinematographer or whoever, but that one he did personally.
How many doors do you think that they had to go through?
Well, Ross, I got about 5 bits of IMDb behind the scenes just for this one.
Just for this fucking scene. Okay, great.
So, for the scene in which Jack breaks down the bathroom door, the props department built a door that could be easily broken. However, Jack Nicholson had worked as a volunteer fire marshal and tore it apart too easily, so the props department were then forced to build stronger doors.
Could you imagine the first take with this like a thin door? he just cleaves it in half.
I want to see that outtake. As he lived in England, Stanley Kubrick was not at all familiar with "Here's Johnny" line from The Tonight Show, and Jack Nicholson improvised that line famously, but Kubrick nearly didn't use it because he didn't know that it was. What it was.
Yeah, because I think
I didn't know what it was. Like Johnny Carson had been off air long enough, but by the time I saw this, I had to ask why that was such a famous line.
Why is "Here's Johnny"? Yeah, because I think in the novel it's not masks. I think he uses masks off.
I think I read. I think I heard
like
that
time
somewhere.
to take your mask off or something.
I
like that.
definitely didn't read it, but I do feel like I heard that, or maybe you told me that the other day when we talked about this.
It's true.
In the original screenplay, Jack Torrance was to say, "That's all, folks," rather than "Here's Johnny," while breaking through the bathroom door. This, I actually "Here's Johnny" works, but I actually almost think I might like that better because it's like ominous because he's about to kill you, and we have the doc thing from earlier. He's watching.
There's always Looney Tune references and stuff like that
throughout the movie. Obviously, "Here's Johnny" is one of the most iconic things in film history, but I think "That's all, folks" fits the movie better.
In a different multiverse, having him say "That's all, folks." Although I would have loved to hear that if he had actually killed Wendy. And like he looks over at Danny and just goes, "That's all, folks."
Oh god, that'd be scary.
Ugh.
This is the last one. According to Shelley Duvall, the famous "Here's Johnny" scene took 3 days to film and the use of 60 doors.
60 doors?
So there you go, Ross. And talk about fucking swinging a baseball bat being tired. Imagine axing down a door 60 times.
Oh my god. That's insane.
Yeah. Wendy cuts Joe. So I watched a few behind the scenes things, and one of the things was, they did all these takes, and like I said, part of it was rehearsals. But one of the things was Jack would give him a plethora of different versions from him to work for in the edit. So it'd be like one version would be catatonic, one would be stark raving mad, one would be in between, and like he did just about every scene had different versions to those extremes, which is interesting. But also, no wonder he seems crazy the whole time. Wendy cuts Jack's hand and they both pause because they hear Dick Snowcat outside. Danny hides in the hotel. He hides in, I don't even know what to call that thing, like the area in Jurassic Park that they hide in the kitchen from the Raptors.
Yes.
Dick comes in the hotel, looks around, and gets axed. It is one of the most deflating, come to the rescues you could possibly have.
Well, it's just the lead up and seeing him on the flight and seeing him in the rental place and getting the fucking car. And it's just all of that stuff building up to he's in the hotel for less than 3 minutes.
He doesn't even have a dialogue with Jack before getting murked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That would have at least given you more.
Totally.
Because you would I think it would have been cool if Jack played like Wendy was the crazy one and was like, "Oh, thank God you're here," and then got him. Because also if he happened to run into Wendy, he could easily mistake that because of the point she's been pushed to.
Mm-hmm.
Danny Shine views the axing, I guess, because he screams.
In Shino vision.
Yeah, and Jack is after him now. Wendy is out of the bathroom and looking for Danny. She sees a furry going down on a tuxedo fella.
Okay. All of that shit is from the fucking book. It's a guy in a bulldog mascot outfit, but what's funny though is that it's weird. I love that character because of how fucking out of context it is. Like, there's
so out of place. And this is her first vision, right?
Yes, this is the first time she's actually seeing apparitions in the thing. And it's funny is that, like, I wonder if it's, I mean, obviously it's Danny Shine, like, now, but then now that, God, who
Dick
just
is
got
dead?
killed? Dick's dead. Dick's dead. I wonder if it's because of the bloodletting, too. That now, like, oh, cool. Now that blood's been spilt, now we can start playing. As in, like, it kind of awakens more things out of the hotel.
Yeah, I don't know. Could be. Or just witnessing it just sent his, emotional state and everything to such a higher degree that it set The Shining off even more.
Yeah, because it's like the hotel's almost like a tuning fork for this kind of shit. And now that, like, Danny's in full freak out shine mode.
Banged it again when he saw that.
Yes. He's like, ah!
Wendy, she did that. Jack chases Danny outside into the maze. The snowy maze consisted of 900 tons of salt and crushed styrofoam. So
oh my God.
That's how they got that. And it was all on a soundstage, incredibly hot. The actors were like peeling off the layers as soon as they weren't shooting.
Yeah.
Wendy finds Dick's dead body and sees a ghost. Great party, isn't it?
With the blood coming down.
Yeah, his face. Jack shades Danny. What does that mean? Oh, chases. Jack chases Danny is what it should have said. Wendy sees skeletons and cobwebs now. That's when she runs and sees the big cobweb room, all the skeletons dressed up in the 20s attire. So Danny's been chased around this maze, but he's a clever boy and he backtracks in the snow and then covers his tracks and hides out.
Yes.
Wendy finds the blood elevator. So now she's really getting the visions. This is what Danny's been seeing the whole time.
Yes.
Danny finds his way out of the maze and finds his mom. They get in Dick's snowcat and leave. Jack is wandering around making guttural animal sounds now.
He's like hypothermia setting in. He's just fucking... And it's amazing because it's so animalistic. Like, he's still so filled with hate and rage and just this, where, like, even in his death rattle is aggressive.
Mm-hmm. And which is kind of what it sounds like. And then he's a frozen Jaxicle. We get that shot of him all froze up. And what do you think happened? Do you think they, like, came back? I guess somebody would have come back to the hotel after Danny and Wendy made it away. I just wonder when and how his body was discovered, or did it get covered in snow and they didn't find it till spring?
I would assume that, like, he probably got discovered a few days after, because, like, when you see the scene, it's not snowing anymore. It's just
that's true,
clear skies.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm assuming they got into some form of civilization and they made their way up there and just found the aftermath of Halloran and Jack in the maze.
Yeah. The only two people that die in the movie.
Yeah.
The camera slowly moves in on it. We're back in the hotel as the camera slowly moves in on an old picture in the gold room. Jack is front and center of the photo from July 4th, 1921. Finn. End of the movie. Finn. Whatever that means.
I really do like the idea of the portrait in the fact of, like, on this weird metaphysical level that the hotel absorbed Jack. Like, it used it, like it infiltrated him and infected him, used it as its instrument. And then as its final thing, because he died there, he just gets assimilated into. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, he turns into a Grady and he just turns into another casualty in limbo, just stuck in this hotel.
Do you know about the alternate ending? I had no idea.
Hit me.
When it was first released, after the shot of Jack's body, the film dissolves to a scene of policemen outside the hotel. It then cuts to a scene in a hospital where Wendy is resting in a bed and Danny is playing in a waiting room. Ullman arrives and tells her that they have been unable to locate her husband's body anywhere on the property. On his way out, Ullman gives Danny a ball, the same one that mysteriously rolled into a hallway earlier in the film, before Danny was attacked in room 237. Ullman laughs and walks away, and the film dissolves to the movie through the corridors towards the photo. Stanley Kubrick had the scene removed a week after the film was released.
Oh, whoa.
So the first week it was in theaters, that was the ending.
Can you imagine trying to explain the ending to your friends and they see it a week and a half later and go, "You're full of fucking shit."
Yeah, we're
That
talking
never
about
fucking-
a different movie. They're like,
That
yes,
never
it had
fucking
the
happened.
painting on the photo, but there's none of this.
'Cause that would also,
when in
like,
the
in-
hospital. You
that
would
would
think you
also,
were a
like-
crazy person. You'd go back to see it, and it's not there.
It's not there anymore.
Like,
But like
I doubt
also,
it got major news. You know what I mean? That'd be very strange.
that'd be so fucking strange. And it also creates this entirely different dynamic that the manager of the hotel actively knew what was going on.
Is in on it.
Is in on it and actively like
Which-
at that point
It kind of makes
it-
sense because I feel like
it
they
feeds it.
give you vibes in the beginning that he could be in on it. There's something about the way he talks and answers questions and everything.
what's
it seems
interesting
like maybe there's something sinister beneath the surface.
Totally. And like obviously in the film's aspect, he says my predecessor Grady, as in like technically this guy that's doing the interview is also the caretaker, but not during the winter months. And Grady, who was there previously that he filled his job, was the one that stayed with his family every winter.
Right.
So it's like, I'm curious in just like the weird Shining verse, how many seasons it took for Grady to actually go insane if he was like a year-round manager and was his gig was like every winter slowly chipping away, like, you know what I mean, was like
Right.
the hotel slowly affecting him every year until it crescendoed in 1970.
Well,
that's
that's the whole thing with the hotel for me is like, why does it do this to some people and not other people? Why only in the winters? All these things, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just kind of gotta write it off if you want to like the movie, or come
It's
up
true.
with a way to make it work.
Totally.
Because it really is, in my opinion, one of the biggest flaws or holes.
Mm-hmm.
But that does it. I mean, do you have any final thoughts on it before we move on over to the next bit?
If you had to get dissolved into a painting in a hotel, would you do a ballroom scene? Would you do like, would you be doing something? Would you be doing like croquet? If you had to permanently be a fixture in a hotel, would you want the ballroom scene or would there be a particular?
Well, do we think Dick Halloran's staying at a hotel when we see him in Miami?
Ooh.
Wouldn't mind being in one of those, you know what I mean?
Yes.
What about you?
on that-
What kind of scene would you want to be in?
Oh, I don't know. I think a ballroom scene would be kind of funny because it'd be like a Where's Waldo.
Sure. Yeah. I need to. That reminds me. I want to Photoshop our faces into that photo.
Into the. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, let's do it. Let's move on over. All right. We're back with the crematorium of questions.
Ooh.
And we will start where we always start. How would we survive? Would we survive? Shuttle bus?
Shuttle bus breaks down at the Overlook.
Yeah. During a winter storm.
And we got to spend 5 months.
In theory, we would have to be there, the whole time. I think none of us probably shine, so plenty of people have been there with no problems. I think we're probably going to be okay.
Okay, so I would say under normal circumstances, completely agree with you. But what happened? What if Brian's shining? What if I'm shining? What if we both have a little bit of shine, and then because of the power of the Chuddle, we now get Danny level shining?
Like it's a combo thing.
Yeah. Well, it's like Brian and I have that ESP for cannibalism.
Sure.
So that's our shining. You know what I mean? Like,
interesting. Well, but so then is only one of us going crazy trying to kill the other two, or
it would be funny if
seeing ghosts?
It would just be a standoff because all three of us would go crazy, and then all three of us.
Fun.
So but then we don't know who we have to kill first. So maybe that's how we survive. We just get at this impasse that all three of us
get so paranoid that like we're all trying to kill the other one. So it's a giant place where like staying to our own sides.
Yes. And we just make these elaborate Rube Goldberg machines that try to kill each other all the time.
Oh yeah, heck yeah. Nightmare on Elm Street style.
Yes, absolutely.
How do you make the film gooier?
I mean,
make the blood from the elevator look more like blood.
Yeah, make the blood look more like blood. Yeah, I mean, the Halloran's death is intense, but it's not like super crazy. It's a wound to the chest. Like if he dismembered him, would be pretty fucking brutal. Instead of showing the twins just the aftermath, you could technically show them getting killed.
That would be crazy.
Or even Grady just blowing his head off with a shotgun.
I think chopping up dick would be the way to go for sure.
I knew you'd be down for chopping up some dick.
Always. But also I don't think like, not that it needs it, but I think it would help. I would enjoy it more if he started chopping them up. Villain level 1 through 10. Overlook.
Are we doing Overlook or Jack?
It's got to be Jack. Jack is... Yeah.
Even I still feel that he's an agent of the hotel, but with Jack.
Yeah.
Power level, mortal man. So 1 or 2. You know what I mean?
Like he's whatever a mortal man rates at.
Well, okay, I'm gonna give him like I almost want to give him like a 2 or 2.5 because he is assisted by the hotel. As in, like, the hotel opened doors for him.
On the head. He's got an ankle problem.
Oh, totally. But he also has supernatural help. So it's like he's more than immortal at that point.
One time. I'll give him a 2 for it, I guess. I don't even want to go to that.
And then iconography is a fucking 5.
Even though it's just like jeans and a jacket. Like, it's his face alone. The actor's face. That. Yeah. So 7.
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
That works. Should it have a sequel? And what is your sequel? It has a sequel. I regrettably haven't seen it yet. My sequel, I don't want a sequel. I want a remake, but not trying to do Stephen King's book. I want someone to try and adapt this and make their own version of this. I don't want this movie again. I want kind of whatever Kubrick did to Stephen King's book, I want somebody to do with Kubrick's movie.
So it's like diluting the diluteness.
Yeah. And, like how the Suspiria remake is loosely it's at a ballet school, but
that's about it.
Witches, but there's a lot different.
Mm-hmm.
Throw it at the hotel, family, all that stuff, but the rest can be different. But I want Jim Carrey to play Jack Torrance.
Oh, God.
If you ask me, Jim Carrey went to the Jack Nicholson, Jack Torrance School of Acting. I could not believe how much I saw Jim Carrey in this performance watching The Shining.
I can see that.
It's going to make, I know people will be mad when they hear that, but
Sam's hot take.
Absolute truth. Very, very Jim Carrey-ish, this performance.
Totally. I could totally.
And now, next time you watch it, hopefully you will remember I said that, because you will definitely see it.
I would almost have this like for me, and I kind of default on this. I think the sequel should be a prequel, and I feel like it should be like the construction of the hotel. Happened? In 1908.
Oh, and you want the fighting off the Indians?
Well, or just the reason. Well, it's because it's supposed to be a burial ground.
What happened with Grady?
Things like that?
Would that be interesting?
But I would phase it. It would be like a 3-part movie. Like I would do like the construction of the hotel in its heyday, and then the Grady murder suicide.
Like it would be like focus.
So it's almost not vignettes, but it would also just be like how it was built in its heyday, and then the last caretaker before Jack Torrance shows up.
Mm-hmm. The sequel I want is whatever Dr. Sleep is. I'm sure that it works. All
Brutal.
Right. Would you buy the soundtrack or score on vinyl? I'm not. I like the opening theme and everything, but a lot of it is just like too intense. I would never want to listen to it.
Yeah. I mean, like it's literally a soundtrack of anxiety.
Yeah.
I feel... It's weird. I agree. I think like if this was blended into like a Halloween, and I collect and own a lot of horror scores and soundtracks. The Shining is one of those I feel would be great for a mixtape. Like if you could take 1 or 2 tracks from it, mix it in with some other Halloween stuff. Great. An entire album of this, like you're not getting anything done. Like I'm going to be pacing around my house.
I would do that as like to punish someone.
Yes. Yeah. If I was going to try to Shelley Duvall someone, then I would make them listen to this thing.
Is anything action figure worthy?
R.I.P. Shelley.
Oh yeah, we haven't mentioned that yet. Recently passed.
I did. I said it when you did the name. I was like R.I.P.
Oh okay, I missed it. Shout out.
Shout out posthumously.
Action figure worthy, absolutely.
100%.
Jack with if I were to have a Jack, I would want, and Jack with the axe and like all hunched over.
I would love.
Although I would also like the black sweater Jack just staring.
Staring. Absolutely. I would. Okay, I guess it's not action. I mean, yes, it is absolutely action figure worthy. I saw a book, like a book nook, that is just Jack Nicholson's face in between the wood shards. That for like a fucking library would be fantastic. And also on the same book tip, I would love 237 bookends. So like one side of the book is like the woman, like Jack originally sees, looking in the mirror, and then the other side is a mirror reflection of the exact same bathroom, but her all rotting and like maybe even having the entire room fucked up. So it's like what it actually is versus what the illusion of it is.
Mm-hmm. That'd be interesting. Danny Trike, like RC car that you could drive.
Oh my god, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, that'd be super cool.
Mm-hmm.
What merch promo item would you want from the film?
The axe.
Yeah. A page from.
Yes, a page would be great.
Yeah. The trike, some of the carpet, the hotel.
we actually talked about this when you were watching it, but I actually own and bought a few and gave them out to homies of the baking powder from the Calumet. The Calumet baking powder
stock room. Yeah,
specifically because there's an entire thing of footage of Kubrick like videotaping it and lighting it from multiple angles. So like there's all this test footage of him just lighting these fucking Calumet things. So I was like, and then I saw him at like an antique village where I was like, oh shit, I bought every single one of them and gave them out to my shining homies.
That's funny. Yeah. And there's all the Native American stuff throughout the movie. So
yes,
it makes sense. There's also, theories that this is actually about the genocide of the Native Americans at the hand of the U.S. government.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that works. Moving on. Midnight showing. Throwing axes.
Axes. Just axe throwing. No. It should be held at an axe throwing place.
Oh, that would be a blast. I've never been, but I would go to that.
And they replace all of like the giant logs with just doors.
Oh, yes. I love it. That's great. And some of them are Dick Halloran.
Some of them are Dick Halloran.
Popcorn bucket. What is it? Bonus points if you can, what it.
I mean, the first one that pops in my head.
Be the hotel. It was my first thing.
The hotel would be a fun one. The elevators and the entire bucket is raspberry filling.
Ew. Raspberry popcorn.
Raspberry popcorn. Or if you want to get real gross, is that it's just the bathtub from 237 and you got to reach your hand in.
Yeah. That actually, I mean, if it's just an empty bathtub, that's fine. It's if there's anything underneath the popcorn that'd be gross.
Oh my God. Like, like those coffee cups that have like the fake cockroach in it is just have the bathtub, but you reach your hand in and it's just this bloated dead lady silhouette. Yeah.
All right. Well, that brings us to our last little segment here before the end. This is when we rate it. It's our ratings. We made it.
We made it to the ratings?
We did.
I only want your fingers.
Should we all, cut our fingers open and bleed on it?
Can you wrap your fingers around this?
I'll take a Voorhees burger and a side of Jason's fingers.
Show them.
We rate each movie on a scale of 0 to 5 fingers. Each finger represents a different quality about the movie. You can jump off 0 finger, half finger, full finger, quarter fingers even. These ratings are intended to be subjective on how we feel about the movie. It does not matter if the movie is objectively good or bad. Ross, I'm going to have you kick us off.
Ooh. Okay.
The Shining.
The Shining. Now, going into this, I'm just going to preface this, in my head was it's a 5 because I've owned this and I've seen this and I've 1,000 times and things like that. And it's really funny how the scale is close, but it doesn't hit a 5 for me,
interesting.
Just as a preference.
Yeah.
Okay, so engaging And then this may be different on when we do our year-end kind of like shifting.
You say that every
around.
time.
I know, but I like to preface that. Engaging for me is going to be... Engaging for me is a 0.75 because I feel that like as much as I am engaged in this movie, I've gotten to the point now where I've watched it so many times where I am zoning out because of how long.
But that's, I would say that's not from lack of engagement, more from oversaturation.
Maybe. Yeah.
You know what
but
I mean?
I mean, like, yeah. But I mean, for me,
is it the fault of the movie or is it the fault that you've seen it?
I think there's a
times?
lot of overdrawn like sequences and things like that. Everything is overdrawn. So it's like, I feel that it's weird. I put it at a 0.75 just because like I have to be in a mood to really sit through the whole thing now because of how long it's 2.5 hours. So it's like,
that'll go to rewatchable too.
Yeah. Sticky 1. I mean, like it's seared into my brain at any given point. There's tons of visual stuff in here that is just going to be like the Grady twins, the dialogue, the sequencing, the bat scene, like the stairwell scene, the axe scene. I mean, God, all of it. Right. I mean, it's just like everything is shot beautifully. Everything looks awesome, which leads directly into T-Shirtable, which is a 1. There's so much visual shit you could do for The Shining that would work out. And then Cockles, man. Yeah, Cockles is going to get a 1 just because Cockles, I mean, there's so much that revs it. I think there's aspects of it now. And we touched on this a little bit when we talked off pod. It's different watching this movie as a parent now, having a kid versus when I watch it as a kid, watch it as a teenager and as a young adult. Yeah. So it's like adding the extra trauma and anxiety of like fatherhood and putting yourself in that situation. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, God, would I ever like, could madness ever drive me to try to murder my kid? You know what I mean? Like that's a like,
I just think about like there are times when you're like you do grab your kid real quick to keep them from doing something like
or like exactly.
But I guess it's different because he's like grabbing them with anger and pulling on them, but like you still it's that I related to so many different things in different ways.
Totally, absolutely. So yeah, it worked it didn't eviscerate it. It's not an eviscerating one, but it worked it enough, especially through like the cadence of watching this so many fucking times. And then rewatchable, man, dude, rewatchable is going to get a 0.75. Like this is so close to a 5 for me, but I have now watched this movie so many times that I am at the point of doubleheader. Like if I'm going to be watching like a Stephen King block of horror movies for like October, like I will give it to this. I do watch it every October without fail. Like sometime during the month of October, I will watch The Shining, usually with my wife. And like, it's kind of one of those, it's for me, it's a comfort food thing. Cause I've been watching this most of my life. Like I'm not going to say I'm never going to watch this movie ever again. Cause I'd be a fucking liar. I watch this at least once a year. It's just now I have to like, I need not a palate cleanser, but it needs to be, it's now a mixed salad of Stephen King.
It's in
or
a
mixed salad of, exactly.
It's like a planned,
Yeah. This is not an individual meal. This is going to be put in with a bunch of different stuff.
You're not just going to toss it on anymore.
Exactly.
It's part of a schedule.
Yeah, totally.
All right. Fair.
So it's a what, 4 or 5?
4.5. Yeah.
Which
still a great score.
It's a great score, and I feel that I'm it'll maybe honestly not get a 4.75 for me. You know what I mean? Like, because I feel it's so close to being a 5, but it's just at this point in my life, it's not a full 5 for me.
That's totally fine. 4.5 exists for a reason.
Yeah,
it's something I've been telling myself since Return of the Living Dead. I'm like, you still can love that movie and not give it a 5.
That's right. That's right, viewers of your ears.
Anyway, I'll do mine now.
Hey,
engaging.
You should do yours.
Engaging. I'm going to give engaging a 1. It's not oversaturated for me, and there's enough to look around for, even coming up on Sticky, I'll go ahead and say it now. One, even though I remembered everything about it, there's just enough little hidden things to look for and trying to figure out, and you're trying to figure out the meaning of different things. What the hell's room 237? All these different things. So because of that, I was fully engaged both watches, like whole time, even though it is long as fuck. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be so long, but it's fine that it's
is
one of the few
And
movies I might give the pass to.
Yeah, I think that really
But it's
does
still
affect
long.
especially with watching it as many times. It's just the length. That, like, I'll be totally honest with you, my second watch for this, I literally fell asleep 2 minutes before the axe scene. That should not happen. Like, that should not.
Right.
That absolutely should not happen. And I literally like fucking fell asleep, blacked out.
But that's that's oversaturation as well. You know what I mean? You've seen it so many times. You said it's comfort food, so
yeah, totally.
I can see that. I used to put on Scream to go to sleep too. So
yes, yeah.
T-Shirtable is going to get a 0.75 because while I would totally get one, it really would have to be the right shirt. I'd have to think it's just super cool for me to get one, but then I'd be happy to have it. But I'm not in the market, let's say.
Yes,
one will have to find me. Cockles is tough. This is where I almost would do something between 0.5 and 0.75, but I like to give higher if I can, so I'm going to give 0.75 because I really do love the beauty of it, the aesthetics of it. It's awesome to watch. There's a lot of really cool things in it, and again, there's so much to try and discover in it, so that's fun. But it's kind of a world I don't enjoy being in. It's so heavy and anxiety ridden that it's not something I want to step into. I think
it's also kind of like an added non-bonus, I guess, is that when you realize what happened on set and like when you're watching most of what actually made it into the film is that the actors themselves are literally like fucking losing hair and like anxiety ridden over it. It is a kind of exhausting.
Yes, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah,
that's why it's not fully there, which goes right back to rewatchable, which I mean, watchable certainly be a full one there. Rewatchable, seen it a bunch. I'm actually, even though I wasn't necessarily looking forward to covering it, I'm glad that we did and that I did revisit it. And I kind of want to watch it again sooner, but I'm almost positive that that's not going to happen.
Yes.
So I think I'm going to give it a 0.5, which gets it to a 4, which honestly, I was wondering if I would even hit a 4.
Oh, wow.
So
yeah,
I'm glad it's there because this is a movie I was unsure how I feel about. And I think part of it is because it is exhausting, like you said. Like, I know that there's a ton about it that I really enjoy and does it for me, but it's also not something I look forward to stepping into, even though I do want to watch it again. It's weird. It's a weird one, but hey, that's where it is.
It's that, because we talked about that kind of just like being in a certain mood or a certain environment, say with like Midsommar, you know what I mean? Where it's like, you don't want to experience it that often, but when you do, it kind of hits that thing where it's like The Shining is different because it's like, I've seen it so many times. I feel like that's what if I watched Midsommar this many times, I feel like that would almost be a lower score for it because like just the volume of which I've seen this.
I will say that there's something about the icky in this that it doesn't do it for me. It's not a good icky, whereas the Midsommar icky, even though it's icky, I like it. You know?
Yes. No, I totally get that.
And I guess I do in this one, but it's just hard. Still figuring it out.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll see what the club has to say. We got a good amount of responses considering I forgot to ask until a little earlier in the day. But it's The Shining, so that makes sense. All right, starting us off with Ricky Prejean, the Witchy Cajon from over at the Nightclub Podcast.
I'm
Listen
reading
to it.
over this right now. This is
Engaging. 1. Eat shit if you don't agree. Sticky. 1. You need a lobotomy if you disagree. T-shirtable. 1. You don't deserve clothes if you disagree. Cockles. 1. This you can disagree with. It's fine. Rewatchable. 1. Your dad was an alcoholic if you disagree. 5 out of 5 fingers. Scatman gonna touch your butt and cry if you disagree.
so 5 out of 5. So apparently I'm gonna have to eat shit, and I guess my dad.
Oh yeah, I'm doing a lot
Yeah.
of bad things. Actually, I don't think I'm getting lobotomized. A few of them I gave 1. The first 2, I think.
Yeah.
I don't have to eat shit either. Then we got Evan, our witchy brethren. Engaging. 1. I'm as engaged in this movie as Jack is writing all work, no play makes Jack a dull boy.
Months.
Sticky. 1. It's as sticky as the floors of the Overlook Hotel after all that blood from the elevator.
Gallons.
T-shirtable. 1. Of course I'll have Jack Nicholson on a shirt saying, "Here's Johnny." Are you kidding? Cockles. 1. I'm completely drained every time, just the way Jack was gonna be until the lady turned way old. Rewatchable. 1. It's a yearly movie, one of my favorite movies. 5 out of 5 fingers. At the midnight showing, I'm throwing a tricycle at the screen. Would I survive? Yeah, I can get through a cold maze. Popcorn bucket will be a frozen-faced Jack Torrance looking up at me. Oh, frozen-faced Jack Torrance would be a great popcorn bucket. Boss Tuna from Joe Blow Horror Show popping in. My number 1 favorite film. The story is so rich and deep, I don't think there's another film that's been analyzed and broken down as much as The Shining. Make sure you check out the Wendy theory. Fascinating theory.
Ooh.
Which I did look that up. It's like that she is actually the crazy one this whole time, and that all the other stuff that's happening is in her head or something like that, and she's the one that lets Jack out, not ghosts. Something like this.
Oh, wild.
I should have looked it up better. Sorry. Weird jumping in. Engaging. 0.5. It does have a good solid storytelling thing going on. It is easy to be engrossed in what's going on. Sticky. 0.5. I haven't seen it in years, but I still recall a good deal, so it does stick with you. T-shirtable. 1. There's a few that have been good. Cockles. 0.5. It was hard to feel the fear and all with this one because I agree with King. Nicholson shouldn't have been cast. You expected his craziness. He was already known for it. Rewatchable. 0.5. If it's on, I'd watch it, but I won't go out of my way when I pop the remake that is infinitely better. The remake she's referring to is the Steven Weber one. She loves it. She thinks it's the best thing ever and way better than this one. Still a solid 3 fingers, but I feel that's too high. Scotty from Fun with Horror. Go check that out.
Yes.
We got engaging. 1. So engaging that even my cats can't tear their eyes away from it. Sticky. 1. The definition of sticky. Every scene is tattooed in my brain.
Ooh.
T-shirtable. 1. I don't own any shirts, but I totally would. Cockles. 1. Nothing warms the cockles of my heart like spending a couple hours in the Overlook Hotel. Aww.
Aww.
Rewatchable. 1. Infinitely. It's simply one of the greatest horror films ever made, in my opinion. Everyone knows that Kubrick's straight from the book, and when I was a teenager, that bothered me. But as I watched it again and again over the years, I've been able to separate it from King's book and appreciate it as an adaptation rather than a straight remake. It's easily my favorite Kubrick movie, although not my favorite King adaptation. 5 full alcoholic fingers gripping the axe I plan to kill my family with. The hotel is making me do it, I swear.
I swear.
T-Boo popped in real quick. It's a 10. 5 out of 5. It is legend. Kubrick, King, Nicholson, Duvall. I could write out each category, but for brevity, it's a masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
Good on you, T-Boo.
Oh, yeah.
T-Boo and Trev, also the Nightclub Podcast. Again, check that out. He also chops off all those fingers for each one. It's a 5 out of 5, Ba. Would rewatch plenty. Then watch Dr. Sleep, which you kind of talked about doing that as a back-to-back earlier.
It's great.
Yeah, it's great.
Hey, it's great.
I don't know what to do for going over the scores. I'm just going to make up and say that Brian lands at a 4. And then he can change it.
What, you can't, do you want to just average ours and then see where that lands.
But it's not set up for that. Oh, I guess we could just do it on our own on like a calculator. Sure, let's do that.
Ooh.
So
Chuddle the calculator.
4.5.
4.25.
I should be able to do that in my head, right? Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. 4.25. So that gets us to. Let me change the spreadsheet here. A to Z 4.25. Well, that's definitely in the Chuddle Club crypt, as we know. And that is the first of its kind, a 4.25. Haven't had one of those before, probably because our rating system was different.
Yeah, that's true.
We couldn't do the quarter fingers. At 4.3, right above it, we have The Blob, The Sadness, Color Out of Space, Friday the 13th Part 3, The Lawnmower Man, Deep Red, and Fido. God, and Bride of Chucky and The Descent are all rated higher than The Shining, collectively, without Brian's score. And then just below it at 4.2, you got Opera, Scream 3, Final Destination 2, Scream 2, Halloween 2018, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
So it's in great company.
Yeah. Chuddle Club Crypt. That's excellent.
Well, it's also unique that it's the only one of its kind right now. I mean, obviously Brian's may change.
That's going to change when Brian comes to. That could be another reason why it's an original score.
That's very true.
I didn't even think about that. Oh, well, that does it. We did it. We did the whole thing.
Are we checking out of the Overlook?
We are. So better get in that snowcat and right on out of here. Does it for the Chuddle Horror Movie Club Pod Chud Meeting Club for tonight. Follow Chuddle the Pod on Instagram and Threads and Facebook to stay up to date with the podcast. Follow at Ross Purvis on Instagram if you want to see his tattoos.
Hey.
And hey, you know what? If you're in the Central Florida area and you need a tattoo, he's your man.
What? Oh, shucks. I'll do
Primrose Tattoo.
That's right.
You can follow Chuddle the Sam and Chuddle the Brian, that's Brian with a Y, on Letterboxd if you have any interest in seeing what we're watching these days. And please jump in our Discord if you want to be a part of the community. We have a lot of fun in there. We don't bite. It's a good time. Just to make it easy for you, all that is in the show description in whatever you're listening to this on. Ross, thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks.
Brian,
thank you for being here.
I hope you come out of this state of mania and join us once again. But until...
Well, we did drag him into the pantry and lock the door.
I didn't. You did that?
Yeah, well, the hotel told me to.
No. Oh, well, now I'm bummed. No wonder we don't have a score. Well, you and I are going to have to talk after this. But until next time, avoid the time loop.